stock. Let's get the investor take first. Mike, how are you looking at these numbers? Any sort of concerns for you? Because it beats across the board.
Yeah, no major concerns. We think it's a pretty clean beat. In fact, we're a bit surprised. The stock is not up more. I mean, the earnings beat by about 4%. Stock is up 4%. So in our minds, investors are treating this as the same company it was before the earnings came out. I think in our minds, this is a higher quality company. And investors have really not they're not showing that in terms of rising sentiment. So we're still as confident in Alphabet as we were before the earnings came out.
So Mike's confident. Harry, I want to get your point of view here because I've been speaking to an executive at Alphabet and asking, look, what about the YouTube controversy surrounding all of this? What about the backlash from advertisers and perhaps the slowing down of wanting to link yourself with certain videos? And they said, actually, look, this is only going to be a modest effect in the medium term. In the longer term, we might actually see some improvement as they change the business. But are there worries surrounding this, Harry?
Well, I think that in Q1, it's not going to affect the business. This ad boycott only really happened in the last month or so, and it really started in the UK and it's spreading to the US. If you really look at YouTube as an entity, most of its revenue is generated from the small to mid-tail of advertisers, and it really is a one-stop shop for them. For the largest brand advertisers who really want to be in brand-safe places, YouTube is a scary place to run, and it really wasn't built for those large-scale brand advertisers. Now, YouTube was sort of caught proverbially with its pants down, where there's now a lot of press around great advertising and great advertisers running against hate speech and other problematic content. But what you're seeing is that Google is now having to approach this problem and deal with it. And I think there's a little bit of chinks in the armor of YouTube going forward in trying to deal with this.
Chinks in the armor, Mike. You're not worried about YouTube at all?
We're not too concerned. As I was actually waiting to come on here, and I was watching you earlier with the commentary that Google only expects a modest impact here. I think that's very telling. I think this was a major blow to potentially sentiment, a blow to sort of the PR for Google, and here they are, and it's only going to have a modest impact. So I think in our minds, they've done a pretty good job of sort of identifying the problems, working to correct it, and our sense is Google is seeing basically everything from the inside, and they're really just not seeing a major impact yet. So I would typically go with some of that commentary in terms of the forward impact.
Harry, if we're moving away from YouTube in particular and looking at other areas, what about, we were all very concerned about the money being ploughed into so-called moonshots. Ruth Porat, the CFO, came in, got a rein on it. Do you feel now more at ease that perhaps they've got a handle on their spending?
Well, I don't think it's made a major contribution to their revenue. You can see from their numbers that the core business is still advertising across search and video. I think that they are going to be careful about spending their money in the right places. I think the key thing for them is they have to find that next growth area. Who knows whether these types of problems associated with content are going to have long-term effects on their video business. I think search is pretty safe, but their video business, I think over the long term, if it's not seen as a safe place for brands to run, I think it will have a material impact. You may not see it next quarter or even the quarter after, but I think over the next few years, you'll see that there isn't that plowing of 80% of video budgets into YouTube digitally. And so these moonshots really are a way for them to diversify their revenues into different areas.
And maybe diversification is what's needed when you suddenly seem to have Amazon potentially becoming a threat on multiple fronts. I really want to get overall the investor take here, Mike, on whether you think Amazon is a key threat now in terms of advertising, in terms of cloud.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did hear your earlier guest. Sounds like he's a little bit more concerned that Amazon may be getting into Google's territory here in terms of advertising. We're a little less concerned here. If we sort of pull back and sort of look at this quarter's earnings and look at all the different sort of dynamics here, we're seeing rising barriers to entry. And we're actually seeing that across basically all the FANG stocks. So we're seeing that for Amazon, for Alphabet, et cetera. our sense, and particularly for the advertising space, and specifically for Google, for Facebook, you're seeing very high sort of barriers to entry that continue. So in our minds, as we sort of pivot over to Amazon and ask the question, are they going to get into Google's ad business? We think that Google's got a pretty big head start. We think it may be somewhat difficult for Amazon to really make some gains there. And I think in our minds, Amazon, they've got plenty of other growth drivers. In our mind, this is sort of down their agenda in terms of what they want to do for growth. So at this point, we're really not too concerned about competition there.